We all know lobsters are a prized delicacy, but what else do we know? We all know lobsters are a prized delicacy, but what else do we know about them? Almika Brzezinski has consulted the experts and now offers this refresher course.
Maine lobstermen like Bruce Fernald have been hauling lobsters from these waters for hundreds of years, setting their traps and pulling up the secrets of the sea. So how many years of lobstering is in your family?
I'm the 6th generation.
Bruce Fernald knows a lot about lobsters.
She's starting to darken up under here.
Yeah.
See that black line coming down there? That's eggs starting to form.
But when he took writer Trevor Corson on board as sternman, he found out how much he didn't know.
Reading Trevor's book was an eye-opener.
But I didn't realize how far it was going to go.
It went pretty far, you know.
It's true. It's true.
All the way, actually.
All the way. It gets pretty steamy.
Steamy is a word you might expect to use to talk about cooking lobsters, but we're not talking about that kind of steam.
It just never occurred to me what interesting social lives and interesting sex lives they have down there.
For hot stuff, you can pick up a Harlequin romance, all fiction. Or you can read Corson's book, The Secret Life of Lobsters, all fact. Let's talk about page 50, where, quite frankly, I don't even know if I can read this out loud. Again, the male responded immediately to the soft female scent. Sniffing with his antennules, he closed and lowered his claws, stood on tiptoe, approached the female and circled her. Is this the body that makes girl lobsters swoon? The face they'd climb out of their shells for? Apparently so.
I learned a lot more about lobsters and, shall we say, the romantic side of lobster life than I had ever imagined there was to know.
The romantic side of lobster life is scientist Diane Cowan's passion.
I'm absolutely fascinated with this animal, and I have been for most of my life.
She's the Jane Goodall of lobsters, obsessed with crustacean science ever since she wrote a paper on it in 9th grade.
It's one of my tagged ones.
And why do you tag them?
If you want to know the secrets of their life, you have to know who's who.
Now Diane lives on an island off the coast of Friendship, Maine, with her dog Bear and 300 lobsters, who have set up housekeeping in an old lobster pound, where she can study their courtship rituals at close range.
They do court. The female is the choosy sex. The female chooses a mate. The guy next door might be good enough, but she might be looking around a little further down the street to see if there's somebody better.
And what's the male lobster doing?
And the guy's set up house for the female. Get a nice shelter, and he has to have a nice place or she's not going to move in with him.
My husband should learn a thing or two from the guy over there doing the work in Lobster Shack 13. And if this all sounds just a bit too metrosexual, there is a dark side.
Male lobsters can't stop fighting. They have to fight in order to decide who's in charge of the territory. Scientists have found out that the females wait in turn to all mate with that one dominant male. So once he's proven that he's the bully of the neighborhood, he just sits back and they come.
But beneath that tough guy exterior, that hard shell, there is a tender side, which inspires the female to come out of her shell, literally.
She'll be just like a blob of jelly. So the male has to be very gentle. And since she's so soft, he has to cradle her in his legs and hold her up off the bottom so he doesn't crush her.
So are we talking about lobsters here or humans?
Sometimes when I describe this to people, it invariably brings up recollections of some bar scene.
In fact, up and down the coast of Maine, folks are uncovering more and more about the secret lives of lobsters. Once a month at low tide, volunteers count the baby lobsters that hide under the rocks.
Carapace is 30.
Recording their vital statistics to send back to Diane Cowan and the folks at the Lobster Conservancy.
Lobsters live for maybe 70 to 100 years. They have a very long childhood. They also have something that is like adolescence. They go through something like puberty.
What do you think of the work the scientists have done to discover these things?
I think in the last 10 or 15 years, we've been working closer and closer with the scientists. We respect them, and I think they respect us. So
It's working.
It's working.
Here in Maine, there's a lobster boom, and nobody knows exactly why. Could it be the lobster's active sex life? Could it be their hard shells and fighting spirits? Or could it simply be the natural cycle of things?
We've been doing so much conservation efforts over the years that it's paying off big time.
Bruce Fernald thinks the boom is because of the lobstermen themselves, who throw back small lobsters and big lobsters and put a V-notch in the tail of breeding females.
That's the future. Now she's going to go back in the water and keep doing her thing.
And the final question, the one we simply can't avoid.
Can you eat them knowing what you know?
Well, this is going to sound a little bit crazy, and I actually feel like going ahead and eating the lobster, even after you know everything about it, it's a little bit like reconnecting with that web of life.
I like to think that I appreciate all aspects of this animal.
Diane Cowan agrees, with just one exception.
I wouldn't eat like one I knew. I can't explain it, but I'd only eat strange lobsters.
With or without butter?
With butter.